Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm your host, Josh Taylor. Good to talk to you again on a Friday night. And it's a Friday night that if you were watching during KDKA Plus News at 10, you heard them talking about a busy weekend going on in town. Pirates have a series this weekend with Seattle in town. Steelers and Bills, second preseason game tomorrow at Acrisure Stadium. Riverhounds in action tomorrow. So whether you are on the south side over at Station Square or either spot on the North Shore, a lot to do this upcoming weekend, and we'll try to run it all down. But we will start at the top with the Steelers in the preseason game tomorrow, their second preseason game against the Bills. We'll talk about the Pirates in just a few moments during our tweet of the night. Plus, we'll get to tonight's game with Paul Skeens on the mound against the Mariners. But to help me do all those things and to help me take your phone calls at 412-575-2600, it's Suzie Cool over in the KDKA AM 1020 and 100.1 FM studios. Suzie, let's start with tomorrow. Let's start with Steelers and Bills. Mike Tomlin pretty much let it be known all healthy players will play in this game. We should see Russell Wilson tomorrow. Tomlin saying the starters are expected, at least the starting offense expected to play roughly 4 series was the number that he gave. But I think a lot of people are just kind of maybe relieved and somewhat intrigued and maybe curious to see what Russell Wilson looks like finally on the field in a Steelers uniform, but also in game action. But your thoughts on finally getting that chance to see Russell Wilson on the field tomorrow?
Yeah, so Mike Tomlin acknowledging that the offense will have most of the starters out there on the field tomorrow. So let's talk about that a little bit. This is going to be a big test for the Steelers. They're going against the starters for the Bills. So this is going to be that first little sample size of what the Steelers fans are going to see this upcoming season. However, what Steelers fans are really excited about is seeing Russell Wilson in action. Now, their biggest question going into tomorrow is he missed most of training camp. Is he going to be the Russell Wilson that everybody knows he can be? He is that veteran presence. I think what we're going to see from Russell Wilson tomorrow is he's going to show leadership that Justin Fields might not have shown because he's just 3-4 seasons into his career. You're going to see him have command of the ball, and he's going to have really great decision-making abilities. If Russell Wilson can come out with all of those attributes that he brings to the game, then it's a no-brainer that he's going to solidify that starting spot for himself.
Now, you say that the Steelers starters are going to get a chance tomorrow night against Buffalo starters. I will provide the caveat. That is the same thing we told ourselves around this time a year ago going into the preseason game where they were taking on the Bills starters, and we looked at those results and we had an expectation set going into the regular season. I shouldn't say we. I should say there was a group of people in town that had an expectation set after they saw what the Steelers offense did against Buffalo starters last season. So some people might be ready to say, hey, I got my grain of salt in my back pocket waiting. But I understand what you're saying from the standpoint of what we should expect to see from Russell Wilson. I would hope for the same things. I would hope for the ability to hold on to the football, to move down the field, to convert a third down, if not here and there, if necessary, but as frequently as necessary. I'm hoping to see what kind of push the offensive line can get, because there is a very distinct possibility we could see Zach Frazier at center tomorrow because Nate Herbig has been banged up and he did not practice yesterday. So there's a possibility we might see this offense work, and maybe no exchange issues with the center to quarterback snap like we saw last week with Nate Herbig, but we will see as things go tomorrow to that effect. But yes, I am curious to see what this offense looks like with Russell Wilson at the helm. I also want to see a little bit more out of Justin Fields. I'd like to see how things could progress when he does have that clean center exchange, when he does have a little bit of a cleaner pocket around him, and seeing if he has the ones around on a more consistent basis and getting more time with those guys on the field, an opportunity to get drives down the field, especially in the red zone, because I think that's where Russell Wilson has been the most effective at certain spots in his career, and I think that's where Justin Fields is the most dangerous as far as his skill set. So that's one thing I'm really looking forward to. But we want to hear what you guys are looking forward to as well. 412-575-2600 is the number. Give us a call there, or shoot me a tweet over at Josh Taylor HD. We'll take those as well. We will take a break. When we come back, we've got our tweet of the night. We got to talk about a couple of strong pitching performances within the Pirates system. We'll explain when we come back. 412-575-2600. We got Richard in Penn Hills. You're on the Nightly Sports Call.
Hi, Josh.
Hi.
I wanted to talk about how to improve the Pirates.
Okay.
Last year they spent $30 million in Chapman's the only one they have to show for it, and he's going to probably be the only keeper. In the trade deadline, we got the Kiner. He can play 7 positions. That's great. But they got Dela Cruz, and he only has about 1 RBI and no homers for us. And we have some guys that we got that should be on this team right now. Cook, Gorski, Peguero, Davis, York. And York's a better version hit-wise than Gonzalez. And I don't know where he is. And I have two of our key players were hurt today, McCutch and our shortstop.
I'm trying to figure out where you put Leo over Peguero, because I can't figure that out. Because if you keep counting Falefa, where do you put Peguero? And if you're keeping Cruz, where are you putting Peguero? Because Leo over Peguero is strictly a middle infielder, unless you're moving Cruz to another position, which I know some people are very heavily, leaning toward, and with good reason. But you're talking about bringing up a lot of guys where there's already guys who have jobs where they're playing, and it's not like you're moving to Brian Reynolds. It's not like you're moving, one of these other players that's already well established and can already lock down a job here. It's hard to really try to look toward the future, especially when we don't know which guys are sticking around. Granted, yes, they brought a couple guys in that are arbitration eligible and could stick around here long term. That is something that's definitely within the realm of possibility. But Suzie, if I'm talking about how they can improve upon things with this team, how about their best guys just play like their best guys? How about we get more consistency out of Key Brian Hayes? How about we get more consistency from the guys at the catcher position, not named Joey Bart? Because right now he's been the one consistent guy at the catcher position. A lot of people are talking about improving from the outside. I think a lot of it can just be improvement from the guys who are already on the inside.
I do agree with that to an extent, Josh. But whenever you do look at the grand scheme of things, like Grandal and Michael A. Taylor were brought here to bring their power. And we've seen it in spurts. Now, Grandal in the month of August is hitting .333. He homers tonight. And you said it
because
in your
Skeens
highlights.
Is pitching. That's why he does.
Yes. When Skeens is pitching, Grandal's going to homer, right? It is what it is. But these are guys that Nutting brought in over the offseason, hoping that they could power this offense. So where is that consistency? And that is something that you and I have said each and every week, and I'm getting sick of saying it, because even though the Pirates won 5-3 tonight, they still only scattered 8 hits. Now, what was great about tonight's hits was they were timely. They were with runners in scoring position. They were when they needed those hits. But you need, at times, more than single-digit hits to get the job done. And especially whenever Bednar comes out in the 9th inning, and let's be honest, he makes us all a little bit nervous right now. He has all season. Tonight, he gives up another homer, and then it's a 3-1 count on Justin Turner at the end of the game, and we're all sitting there biting our nails like, please don't do this to us again. He does solidify his 21st save of the season. However, it was pretty close to call. So I'm at the point where what can we do with this lineup to see more consistency, to see more runs, because a lot of these leads have been getting blown, and it would not have been shocking tonight if it would have gone the other way for the Pirates.
Yeah, and one of the things I keep hearing throughout the course of the season that I find to be somewhat troublesome, because it's really misguided. You hear people say, well, Bob Nutting needs to spend more money. Well, the truth of the matter is they actually did spend some money to bring guys in here. They paid to bring in a Aroldis Chapman, and they paid to bring in a Rowdy Tellez and a Michael A. Taylor and a Yasmani Grandal, and some people met that with a little bit of apathy. Now, if you want to talk about the kind of guys they bring in, that's something that I probably would be a little bit more inclined to agree with. But they paid money to Key Brian Hayes. They paid money to Mitch Keller. They paid money to Brian Reynolds. And I think for the most part, Reynolds and Keller have kept their end of the deal. I'm not worried about them. And I agree with you. We talk about how we need to see more consistency out of this team, and I'm with you completely about the single-digit hits, because not just the number of single-digit hits, but just when they out-hit their opponent. Their record is insane when they just simply out-hit their opponent and get just enough offense to just support their pitcher. Or more importantly, and this is something that you kind of alluded to with David Bednar, if the bullpen could support a lead and hang on to it and not let those slip away. We saw, 7 or 8 of those consecutive losses came with losses by the bullpen. That's another thing that comes back to consistency or lack thereof.
Yeah, and even whenever you look at that losing streak, 3 of the first 4 games, the Pirates had a lead. They had a lead late into the game, and then all of a sudden that lead was blown due to the bullpen, and then honestly due to lack of run support or the ability to be able to get runs in later innings. So again, I just think it's a consistency, and it's really looking at those guys that are in your lineup every single day. And you can even make the argument of Rowdy Tellez. I mean, he's now hitting 248. There was one point where he was below 200, right? Like, he's definitely stepped it up. Yes, but that's the thing. He's one of those guys that Nutting paid money to over this offseason. So the pieces are there. It's just making sure that these pieces actually can work together. Now, is the wild card race even in question at this point? No, but the pieces that we have here in Pittsburgh need to start to work together just a little bit better and try to get back to at least what this team was before the All-Star break, whenever they were in somewhat of the mix.
You know my big three: pitching, defense, hitting, and at least one of them has to be pitching. For the most part, that's been there. The other two have been part of the problem.
Yeah.
We got to take another break. When we come back, we got to talk a little bit of Steelers too, because we got to get some calls from that too when we come back. Stick around.